Picture this. It's 1943, somewhere in the English countryside. A young farm boy is messing around with leftover explosives, because apparently, that's what bored teenagers did during World War II. He makes a mistake. A really, really stupid mistake. The kind that should have gotten him killed. But instead of dying in a fiery explosion, he accidentally stumbles onto a discovery that would change modern warfare forever. A technique so effective that it's still used today to destroy the most heavily fortified bunkers, underground tunnels, and reinforced targets on Earth. This isn't a story about a brilliant scientist in a laboratory. This is about pure, dumb luck, and how one kid's near-death experience became one of the most devastating weapons in military history. So how did a farm boy's explosive accident lead to a revolutionary bunker-busting technique? Stick around, because this story is absolutely wild. Before we get to our farm kid, we need to understand the problem military forces were facing during World War II. By 1943, the war had been raging for 4 years. And both sides had gotten really, really good at one thing: building bunkers. We're not talking about some sandbags and wooden planks. We're talking about massive concrete fortifications, some with walls over 6 feet thick, reinforced with steel, buried underground, and designed to withstand direct hits from the most powerful bombs of the era. The Germans, in particular, were masters at this. The Atlantic Wall, Hitler's coastal defense system, was lined with thousands of bunkers, pillboxes, and gun emplacements. U-boat pens, the submarine bases, had concrete roofs up to 23 feet thick. 23 feet. You could drop a standard bomb on these things all day long, and all you'd do is crack the paint. The Allies tried everything. Bigger bombs. More bombs. Precision targeting. Naval bombardments. Artillery barrages. Nothing worked. The math was simple and brutal. A conventional explosive detonating on the surface of a bunker would just dissipate most of its energy into the air. Only a fraction actually damaged the structure. Engineers calculated that to penetrate these fortifications, you'd need bombs so massive they'd be impractical to deliver. We're talking 20,000-pound bombs, and even those weren't guaranteed to work. The military needed a new approach. They needed something that could defeat concrete and steel without requiring a bomb the size of a small car. And that's where our farm kid enters the picture. Now, here's where I need to come clean about something. The farm kid in our story isn't some unknown teenager from World War II. His name was Charles Edward Munroe, and technically, his discovery happened way back in 1888, but stick with me, because the story is just as wild, and its impact on World War II bunker busting is exactly what I promised. Charles Munroe was born in 1849 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. By the 1880s, he was working as a chemist, but his roots were definitely rural and hands-on. He was the kind of guy who learned by doing, and by occasionally blowing things up. In 1888, while working at the Naval Torpedo Station in Newport, Rhode Island, Munroe was conducting experiments with gun cotton, an early military explosive. Now, gun cotton is basically nitrocellulose, and it's incredibly powerful but also incredibly unstable. The kind of thing you should probably handle with extreme care. Munroe was testing different explosive configurations, trying to understand how shape and placement affected blast effects. And this is where he made his stupid mistake. He had a block of gun cotton, and he'd carved his initials into it, CEM, probably just absent-mindedly, the way you might doodle on a notepad. Then he placed this block, carved side down, against a metal plate and detonated it. What he expected was a general explosion, maybe some scorch marks, nothing special. What he got was something that made his jaw hit the floor. When he examined the metal plate, he found that his initials, CEM, had been burned into the metal in perfect, deep relief. The explosive hadn't just damaged the surface. The hollow spaces in the carved letters had somehow focused the blast, creating jets of explosive force that penetrated far deeper than the solid portions of the explosive. Munroe had just discovered what would later be called the Munroe Effect, or as it's known in military circles today, the shaped charge principle. Now, let's talk about why Munroe's accidental discovery was such a game-changer. When a conventional explosive detonates, the energy radiates outward in all directions, basically a sphere of destruction. It's powerful, but it's inefficient if you're trying to penetrate something specific. Most of the energy just goes into the air or the ground. But Munroe discovered that if you create a hollow cavity in an explosive, especially a cone-shaped cavity, and line it with metal, something incredible happens. When the explosive detonates, the blast wave doesn't just expand randomly. Instead, it collapses the metal lining inward at incredibly high speeds. We're talking 25,000 feet per second or faster. This creates a superheated, high-velocity jet of metal particles that focuses all the explosive energy into a single, penetrating stream. Think of it like the difference between throwing a bucket of water at a wall versus shooting a high-pressure water jet. Same amount of water, completely different effect. This shaped charge jet can punch through steel armor, reinforced concrete, or almost any material like a hot knife through butter. The penetration depth is absolutely insane. Modern shaped charges can penetrate over 3 feet of solid steel armor. But here's the thing. When Munroe made this discovery in 1888, nobody really knew what to do with it. The military took notes, filed some reports, and basically forgot about it. The technology of the era wasn't ready for shaped charges. There were no bunkers that required this level of penetration. Munroe published his findings in scientific journals, and the discovery sat collecting dust for decades. It would take another world war, and another generation of engineers, to realize what Munroe had accidentally handed them. Fast forward to the 1930s and early 1940s. The world is at war again, and suddenly everyone's building bunkers like their lives depend on it, because they do. Military engineers on both sides start digging through old research, looking for anything that might help defeat these concrete monsters. And someone, probably multiple someones, stumbles across Munroe's old papers about shaped charges. Suddenly, it's like a light bulb goes off. The Germans were actually the first to weaponize shaped charges effectively. By 1940, they'd developed the Hohlladung anti-tank weapons, basically shaped charges designed to defeat armored vehicles. These weapons used Munroe's principle to create penetrating jets that could punch through tank armor that was previously considered impenetrable. The British and Americans quickly caught on. By 1942, both nations were developing their own shaped charge weapons. The famous bazooka, rocket launcher, shaped charge warhead, British PIAT anti-tank weapon, shaped charge, and most importantly for bunker busting, specialized demolition charges and bombs that used shaped charge principles. One of the most famous applications was the development of hollow charge bombs and specialized bunker busters. Engineers designed bombs with shaped charge warheads that could be dropped from aircraft or placed by combat engineers. The British developed the Grand Slam and Tallboy earthquake bombs, massive 22,000 and 12,000-pound bombs designed by engineer Barnes Wallis. While these weren't pure shaped charges, they incorporated principles of focused energy and deep penetration before detonation, creating devastating effects against hardened targets. American forces used shaped charge demolition devices against German fortifications during the invasion of France and the push into Germany. Combat engineers would place shaped charges against bunker doors, gun ports, or structural weak points. The results were devastating. Walls that had withstood artillery fire would suddenly develop massive holes, allowing troops to assault or destroy the position. So what happened to Munroe's accidental discovery? Did it fade into obscurity after World War II ended? Not even close. The shaped charge principle revolutionized warfare in ways that are still being felt today. Every modern anti-tank weapon, from the RPG-7 to the Javelin missile, uses shaped charge technology. Military engineers use shaped charge demolition devices to breach fortifications, cut through steel, and neutralize obstacles. But perhaps most impressively, shaped charges evolved into modern bunker-buster bombs. The GBU-28, developed during the Gulf War in 1991, was specifically designed to destroy heavily fortified underground bunkers in Iraq. It uses a penetrating warhead that burrows deep into the ground before detonating, a direct descendant of Munroe's principles. Even civilian industries adopted the technology. Oil companies use shaped charges for well perforation, creating precise holes in oil well casings thousands of feet underground. Demolition experts use them for controlled building demolitions. Charles Munroe continued his work as a chemist and explosives expert, eventually becoming a professor at George Washington University. He received numerous honors for his contributions to science, though he probably never imagined that his carved initials would lead to one of the most important military technologies of the 20th century. He passed away in 1938, just before his discovery would prove absolutely crucial in the most devastating war in human history. The Munroe Effect remains his lasting legacy, proof that sometimes the most revolutionary discoveries come not from careful planning, but from curiosity, experimentation, and yes, even stupid mistakes. So there you have it, the story of how one chemist's carved initials accidentally revolutionized modern warfare. From a simple experiment in 1888 to bunker-busting bombs in World War II and beyond, the shaped charge principle changed everything. It's a reminder that breakthrough discoveries don't always come from where you expect. Sometimes they come from someone doodling their initials in an explosive. Sometimes genius looks a lot like dumb luck, at least until you realize what you found. What do you think? Are there other accidental discoveries that changed warfare or technology? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into explosive history, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Give this video a like if you learned something new, and share it with anyone who loves bizarre historical stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.